Well, good evening from London. Welcome to Piers Morgan Uncensored. Reviews for Harry and Meghan's big-budget Netflix series have so far been less than kind. Unimaginative and frustrating, said Hollywood's Bible, Variety magazine. So sickening, I almost brought up my breakfast, said the woke Bible, The Guardian. All the intimacy of Instagram, sneered the normally timid New York Times. A nauseating self-serving snooze fest, said another pundit. Well, that was me, actually. Now, against this deluge of derision, Netflix today released a new trailer for the second half of this compelling series, which comes out on Thursday. Viewer discretion is advised. This clip contains weapons-grade hypocrisy.
I wonder what would have happened to us had we not got out when we did.
Our security was being pulled. Everyone in the world knew where we were.
I said, we need to get out of here.
Hi.
We are on the Freedom Flight. To see this institutional gaslighting.
I wasn't being thrown to the wolves, I was being fed to the wolves.
They were actively recruiting people to disseminate disinformation.
They were happy to lie to protect my brother. They were never willing to tell the truth to protect us.
Prince Harry and Meghan Markle.
The rogue royals.
They just wanted to be free. They wanted to be free to love and be happy. I applauded that.
In order for us to be able to move to the next chapter, you got to finish the first chapter.
It gave us a chance to create that home that we had always wanted.
I've always felt as though this was a fight worth fighting for.
Institutional gaslighting, says Harry. Do you think he even knows what that means? They were happy to lie to protect my brother. Who? The royals? Me? The media? Who is it? The irony is earth-shattering, isn't it? Harry and Meghan are the Duke and Duchess of gaslighting themselves. The entire show is a cynical attempt to manipulate viewers into questioning their own recollections of reality. And if we learned anything at all from the first 3 hours of this $100 million wine-a-thon, it's surely that this dismal duo wouldn't know the truth if it smacked them around their smug chops.
Oh, yeah.
Let's look at their truth versus the actual truth. Meghan moans that royal advisors forced her to uninvite her dear niece, Ashley, from the wedding, the only member of her family that she seemed to be still talking to.
How do we explain that this half-sister isn't invited to the wedding, but that the half-sister's daughter is? And so, with Ashley, the guidance at the time was to not have her come to our wedding.
Yeah, that was a lie. Impeccably placed royal sources told the Sunday Times no such guidance was ever given. And that was supposed to be the show's big example of how Meghan really cares very deeply about her family. So deeply that only one member of that family was at the wedding, her mother. Not even her favourite little niece, Ashley. Meghan also sees she got no advice on royal protocol, forcing her to learn how to be a princess all on her own.
Joining this family, I knew that there was a protocol for how things were done. There's no class and some person who goes sit like this, cross your legs like this, use this fork, don't do this, curtsy then, wear this kind of hat. Doesn't happen.
Another lie. And by the way, Meghan, if you don't like me calling you a liar, just sue me and we'll go through all this in court. The Sunday Times discovered she was actually handed a 30-point dossier, studiously researched, brimming with information and contacts.
Drop it.
Meghan later simpers that she never wore bright colours to show respect, because she's all about respect.
So I was like, well, what's a color that they'll probably never wear? Camel, beige, white. So I wore a lot of muted tones, but it also was so I could just blend in. Like, I'm not trying to stand out here.
No, the last thing Meghan Markle would ever want to do is stand out. But it's all another lie. Photos taken by the evil, bigoted British press show her wearing pretty much every colour in the rainbow. The show opens with the claim that the royal family declined to comment on the series. That's another lie. The palace says it received one email from an unknown company, and attempts to verify it were flatly ignored. Even the story of their romance and engagement turns out to have been a series of whoppers. They told the BBC in 2017 they were set up by a mutual friend on a blind date. They told Netflix they met on Instagram. And what about Harry's modest proposal in their humble cottage kitchen?
It happened a few weeks ago, earlier this month, here at our cottage. Just a standard, typical night for us.
It's a cosy night. It was what we're doing, just roasting chicken and
Roasting
having
chicken, trying to roast a chicken.
trying to roast a chicken, and it was just an amazing surprise. It was so sweet.
An amazing surprise. It was so sweet. Well, according to Netflix, which is their show, it was actually a candlelit extravaganza in their walled garden.
Right.
And Meghan was so amazingly surprised, she managed to figure out what was happening and tell her friend about it before Harry even popped the question. A small little detail, but rather like their claim, or Meghan's claim, that they'd been secretly married by the Archbishop of Canterbury in their garden before, 3 days before, the big televised wedding, which also turned out not just to be untrue, but had it been true, would have led to the Archbishop of Canterbury being incarcerated in prison.
I think solidity she's brought to his son's life. He thinks she's a brilliant mother and is bringing up his grandchildren fantastically. So he's already got a lot of admiration for her, but I know he's also had a lot of admiration for the way she's conducted herself throughout this, you know, admittedly with a lot of people poking her with a stick. And also equally, I think she, from what I hear, was quite inspired by his openness about his own diagnosis and the treatment that he was going through.
Are you serious?
As well.
Well, some people, Richard, have said that actually that has helped pave the way for Catherine and to give her the confidence to go public.
Yes, I think from all we hear, King Charles was interested and perhaps a bit worried about the reaction to his talking about cancer. We've discussed in the past how monarchs would never want to indicate that, you know, they've had cancer. It is a first. And he was very heartened by the reaction, that it was sympathetic and positive. It encouraged talk among people and people willing to discuss cancer. And so that's encouraged Catherine to do the same. So it's definitely a positive thing.
Speaking of Catherine, here are some of our favourite pictures of the now Princess of Wales. Meanwhile, in Montecito, Harry appeared to have finally made the move permanent to America after 4 years. The news came as we heard updates on the couple's Netflix projects and Meghan Markle revealed her new jam. We'll have Rebecca's reaction to that, and Charlotte Griffiths tells us the moment she believes that Meghan's mask slipped.
It relates to the company we were talking about a moment ago, Travelist. And Prince Harry has updated his details with Companies House in Britain, because you have to give your home, your place of residence. And he has finally said that he is now resident in the USA. It's taken him 4 years since they quit Britain. He always said, you know, Britain will always be my home, and it's clearly not now. And, you know, there are all sorts of implications from this. Remember, we've got that case that we've discussed on this programme quite a lot about Harry's immigration status, what he wrote on his forms. It's the subject of a case at the moment with the Heritage Foundation, a think tank that wants to know what did he write. They want to be able to show, you know, what did he say about that past drug use. And then there's other questions about his future roles as well.
Is it, residency doesn't really have any bearing on citizenship, right?
No.
Very good question.
No, so, yeah.
But I think what's really interesting is that date he gave was backdated to the day that King Charles threw him out of Frogmore.
This is really pointed. So when he actually said about since when have you been resident in the USA, he made the point that it was that day that my father evicted me from my lovely home in Windsor.
Oh, not that he's keeping score at all. at all. Now, Rebecca, we also have an update, don't we, about the Netflix projects of the Sussexes. What can you tell us?
Yeah, this made me smile. So it suddenly found itself in the way to some very sympathetic publications that Harry and Meghan were working on 2 big new projects for Netflix. One was a project being curated by Meghan. Are you serious? Which I think is quite an interesting choice of words. Doesn't suggest she features in it or, you know, hosts it, but that's about lifestyle, cooking, friendship, all that sort of thing. And the other is a programme about
Wait for it.
polo and the kind of fast-paced polo world behind the scenes. Then miraculously, a couple of days later, we first of all, I'm sure we'll get on to discuss this, pots of jam associated with Meghan's new business venture start popping up on social media after she sent them to friends and influencers, and they turn up at the Centre Barley fundraising polo match in Florida with a Netflix crew in.
What is he doing?
In tow. It's almost as if it was planned.
No. Strategy comms. Yeah, amazing. Now, Richard, what do you think about these Netflix shows? Will they be setting the world on fire, the box office alight?
Wait for it.
I think it's fascinating. I mean, remember, there's been rumours for ages that Prince Harry's next project for Netflix would be about Africa. You know, he loves Africa. It's been central to his life. And the idea that's been mooted was for him to return there and make a documentary.